Hello and welcome into the City Manager's Report. I'm your host, Jill Fraley. Of course, these are the times that we talk to Pikeville City Manager Donovan Blackburn. It has been a while since we have been together, been a while since we've been able to inform you of all the great and wonderful, exciting things coming to our area, update you on some other projects we have going. So we have a lot to get to today. We have some special guests that are going to join us. So without further ado, hello, sir.
Well, Jill, hello.
It's been a while.
And I have truly missed you. I will say that.
I have missed you. We haven't seen each other technically here since last year.
It's been a year now.
Yeah.
And before we get started, I want to make this announcement publicly that I appreciate the job that Jill does. I've come to appreciate it because the last taping that I did, I sat in that chair that I mentioned to you last night.
Yeah.
And Jill, you've got a hard job. You've got a very difficult.
I tell you this. You never know what I have to sit here and talk to you. I know what I saw actually the taping that you did with Jimmy.
With Jimmy Carter.
And you told me last night we were at a function last night together. We'll talk about that coming up in just a few moments. But you said, and look what I had to deal with Jimmy Carter. And I told you, I've interviewed Jimmy before. He is fine. I don't know what your problem was.
Well, obviously it wasn't the content or the person being interviewed. It was the interviewer.
Oh.
And but no, I had a blast in doing it, obviously, but.
You don't want me to take any more time off.
But please do not leave me again. As I told my wife after we were leaving last night, I said, really, Debbie, and of course we both adore you, but just talking about how well you do, not just in this capacity, but with your capacity with these executive broadcasting. But it is a difficult job, Jill. I've got a whole new appreciation.
Well, I've had a lot of practice, and I'm continuing to practice. But thank you, I do appreciate you saying that. Let's. We talked about where we were last night quickly.
Yeah.
We haven't had a chance to even talk about this either, and I know it's something that we both get so excited about.
We do.
I know last night we were both very giddy. We were at an event last night, a meet and greet, welcoming home our Miss Kentucky,
yes.
And I told you last night, we have loaned her to Kentucky for a while, but she's still our girl. We claim ownership of Jessica Case-Bolt. Competed in the Miss America pageant, top 15 finisher, and is just a remarkable young lady. But we attended an event last night where the city and East Kentucky Broadcasting wanted to welcome her home. A lot of people came by to wish her well, thank her for her service, and tell her how proud we were of her. And, we have talked extensively about the type of and the beautiful role that she's grown into, but she really is such an ambassador for our area.
Oh, Jill, absolutely. And also to mention Herbie Deskins and Appalachian Wireless also.
And the hospital.
And the hospital. Did a great job. We had a great event, as you mentioned, some food, and a lot of folks came in and got their picture taken with her, and she signed autographs last night. But it was a fitting time welcoming her back into the community that she grew up in. And as you know, we all have a good relationship with Jessica. We've known her ever since she was very small, and my wife absolutely adores her because, well, a lot of people may not know about Jessica. She does a lot of volunteer work as well.
Absolutely.
And
Kids Day in the Park is one thing that comes to my mind.
That's where I was going. Is that my wife has held Kids Day in the Park, and Jessica's been in one of her year after year had came back to help. So as a matter of fact, she really. I'd say honored my wife because she thinks a lot of Debbie as well. But as part of her video that she did for she had Debbie in her picture during Kids Day in the Park as part of her video. So we just adore her. She did an absolutely phenomenal job. But not only being giddy last night, and I don't know if you were part of this conversation, but I said, I told Jessica this and Carol that it was really fun and unique to watch. Not only to see somebody that you've watched grow up on national television represent our community so well, but also how many people that you can turn. I didn't know what a stiletto was or all these. I'm now almost an expert at listening to all these. I've been educated to the fashion world now. So to watch, and the tale was sitting on Sunday during the event, during the actual pageant. Thank you. I couldn't remember the word pageant. It's been a long day.
When I start finishing your sentences, that's when you know we've got a problem. Either a good or a bad problem, whichever.
It's good. But during the pageant, when it was on, it was also football playoffs. And which, unfortunately, and I would have never said this, was secondary in my thought, which I love football and can't wait for the playoffs. But to sit there with my iPhone in hand, and my wife had her iPad, watching Facebook and all the people in Pike County posting post after post after post over action, step by step, somebody comment, and then to see how many men were on there posting as well, knowing that the playoffs were on, and not watching the playoffs. So
I
that was a
noticed the
true
same
testament.
thing. Jimmy Carter said last night, and I got so tickled at him because he has the funniest sense of humor. Jessica and I were standing there talking, and he said, "Well, I'll just tell you this." He said, "At least you didn't have to have people voting for you. Otherwise, you got in on your own." And I thought, "Oh goodness, that is so you." But it's true, though. I mean, she was able to get there, and talking to the people who are involved with the Miss Kentucky program and who have been involved with Miss America for years,
Yes.
they have had such wonderful things to say about her. And it's something that we say in Eastern Kentucky and that we're very proud of. When you raise them right,
Amen.
That's what happens. And that's basically what it is. She was raised by a wonderful family, and all of those qualities that she has grown and developed over the years, you saw there. And we just could not be more proud of her. So,
well, she comes, as you know, she comes from great stock.
Yes.
They're just a great group of people and very family oriented, very community oriented, and we couldn't ask for somebody better, not only to represent Pikeville, but to represent the whole state of Kentucky. And also want to thank all the people out there that both obviously her family and all of our friends that she's friends with, whether it's the City of Pikeville, East Kentucky Broadcasting, that really got people out to vote for the People's Choice.
Oh my goodness!
To come in third,
she finished third.
was a great accomplishment. So but she did a wonderful job with her video, and
she did. It was good. It was very good. I'm really excited to see what the future holds for Miss Jessica Casefelt.
She's got a very bright future ahead of her.
She does. She certainly does. Well, let's talk about some of the things that have been going on since we last met, which was early December, I guess, to inform everybody. We have economic development projects. We have retail development, which is always my most important thing that I like to speak to you about. But as I was coming to the studios of Pike TV today, I really hadn't noticed the Hilton Garden Inn that is really starting to take shape. We will talk about that. So quickly give an overview of what we're going to discuss, and then we'll delve in a little bit more specifically.
Well, as you know, there are well, I'll back up a little bit. Jill, again, frequently I'm stopped almost everywhere I go in our great community in the county, thanking both city and county government for hosting these type of shows, informing the public of what's going on, because people are generally interested on what's going on in their community, and we have a responsibility as appointed and elected officials to make sure that we get the word out. There's a lot of economic development going on. Now, obviously, we know that the coal industry has been somewhat under attack, and we've lost a lot of jobs. It's unfortunate, but in a downturn economic economy, our city has been very blessed to have a lot of growth, a lot of projects. Now, a lot of those projects are, some of them, I won't say a lot of them are government driven, but there's a lot of private sector projects that were also the government somehow involved one way or the other. That's really giving our area, our little community, a great boost. We are still seeing increases in our tax base coming in, which means that businesses are still growing here. But we don't want to forget that there is a lot of people out there that's still affected by this by this coal industry and what has happened. I was just speaking with somebody actually today that's in the know that said there was a report came out that they feel like that the coal industry has probably hit bottom, and they're projecting a 6% increase. Now, again, I'm not in the know from the standpoint if those numbers are accurate, so I don't want to be out there sitting there pointing a finger at me later. But hopefully that we with the economy is seeing a little bit of a rebound, and that with everything that has gone on over the past year, that we'll start seeing more of a benefit. Not that our community hasn't seen a benefit. The Mayor Justice and the entire Pikeville City Commission, and with our new commissioner, Jerry Keith Coleman, great guy. He really has jumped in. Matter of fact, I'll make this note, Jerry Keith, I think it was last week, was in Lexington for 4 days. The Kentucky League of Cities puts on what they call a city officials academy, and any newly elected official goes and learns about those that want to. It's not mandated. It's anybody that wants to goes and they learn about municipal law and how government works and what their role is. So Jerry Keith was in Lexington last week, giving up his time to serve his community, learning. So I'm very proud of what Jerry Keith is representing. His start out of the box with what I see his intent is with his community. So I think we've got, again, an addition to a great team already that's really going to come in with a lot of new insight and ideas. Well,
that's what I was going to say. It's a wonderful opportunity to have some different ideas.
It is.
We talk all the time about what the city does with the high school students about expanding and planning for the future. No better way to get new information from the kids or new information from newly elected service members to our community than just to listen to what they have to say. And we're constantly evolving here. And that's one of the great things I think about our city government, and of course the county government as well, is that we're always open to new ideas. We're not stuck in a place where we're not going to do it that way because we've never tried it. We will try things, and if things may not work, then we'll revamp those. But that's just a huge true testament to Mayor Justice and you having those innovative ideas that are really going to better our community.
Well, I appreciate the compliment, because I can honestly say, and Jill, you know, we hear there's a grand stage right now on a national level with a lot of debate over different party, and there's a lot of parties going one direction and another direction, and you know, that's the nice thing about our community is it is nonpartisan. That's how they run on their ticket. But you've got a city government that, I can say this with full belief, that is totally transparent, that wants to do the right thing for the community, and works hard at it for little or no pay. And again, I've said this several times, for $3,000 after taxes, $1,800 of take-home pay, to put up with what they have to put up with because of the love of their community. Now, when we talk about transparency, and you just hit on something that's very near and dear to me, and because of the belief of this commission, is that Jimmy Carter and I had a show on, obviously the one I just discussed, that I narrated, that Jimmy spoke to, that it was very important for the commission to get everything out online, like their ordinances and their minutes and everything. So everything that their government does is accessible to the public. But more important than that, everything, I won't say everything, but a big part of what they do is listening to the community. And that's what our comprehensive plan is. So if you look, Jill, truly, if you go back and you look at the growth that we've encountered over the last 5-6 years, you go back to the plan that was created in 2005, and that was our first comprehensive plan in many years. The majority of that plan didn't come just from the city commission. When you do these comprehensive plans, we hire a professional group that comes in, and they'll go and they'll interview every segment of private business, education, medical, all around the horn. They talk to the true leaders. They talk to people like Walter May and Gene Hell and Paul Patton, and then they drill it down to people that are actually in the trenches doing the work. That's when the plan is formulated and then brought back and put into a fair comprehensive plan. And then that gives the commission something to work for. You mentioned a moment ago, you know, we've got a meeting this coming Monday, the 28th, at City Commission. We're working on a comprehensive plan now. And we talked about on our programs before that we've got the Generation Y that we are engaging. And I'm going to tell you something. I mean, I am so excited about this meeting, because I did not realize the talent. I mean, I know we have talent at our high school here, local high school. We've got great talent. But to the extent of what that talent is,
it's mind-blowing, isn't it?
You should wait till you see. They have put together, I got a preview of what they're going to present to the commission. We've got them in the commission meeting starting at 4:30 work session, for them to present what they want to see in the city's comprehensive plan. And I've got a preview of it. It's about 4 or 5 pages long, of all these in-depth ideals that these students, again, have taken their time and have committed to. And it is just phenomenal what they've come up with. So for the first time, that generation, and when we met with them, of course, we aired it on Pike TV. We asked them, you know, to take this seriously. They understand they are going to be the voice of their generation for the next 5 to 6 years of planning. So take this serious. They took it above and beyond what anybody could have ever asked of them. So I'm really excited to see them back engaged with city government. Wait until the public sees some of the things that they brought. And they put a lot of thought into these ideas.
I think the most wonderful thing about that particular project is that it gives our kids ownership in their community, a community where a lot of them will come back after they've gone to college, began their careers. They will come back here. It is a proven fact, and we know a lot of people go away, but the majority of them will come back. But it gives them a sense of ownership. They know what they want their city to be later on. And of course, too, we want to give all kinds of credit to their families, their parents, and our educators that really instill in them the belief that they can do something if they just set their mind to it. And I for one, cannot wait to see what they've come up with, because working within the school system for a number of years, I've seen it firsthand, even from the elementary level all the way through the high school, and have just been so blown away by the ideas and the amount of commitment that these kids, you know, we're talking 15, 16, 17-year-old kids, that they will go ahead and make right now.
Well, you know, it amazes me how their minds work, because one of the reasons that we wanted this generation part of the comprehensive plan is just being very blunt. We don't understand this generation.
No.
Because this is a generation of technology, true technology. And, you know, though, you know, our generation, we use a lot of that technology, the way that they use it is a heck of a lot different. I'll just, again, I'm just being very candid. When I'm working on a project that's important, I've got to concentrate. It's whatever's in front of me. I can multitask. I'm not saying I can't.
Not like they can.
But not, I watch my son,
Yeah.
who is in IT. That's what he works for the hospital. He's an IT manager for the hospital. But, he can sit there actually playing a game while working on his laptop, while talking on the phone and listening to music in the background, and everything is computer generated. So this generation looks at things totally different.
Right.
And the workshop that I attended that kind of led me to this path of why we're doing this kind of spoke to that. And again, people are going to be really impressed. So when you look at the development projects that we're getting ready to talk about, I'll just give the community a brief update on where we're at on some of this stuff, because there's a lot of things that we're trying to tidy up right now to finish. There's a lot of things we're starting, some things we're in the middle on, and then there's some new initiatives that we'll talk about in future shows that we're working on. But to have the voice of this generation, and then again, it's the same leaders that I just mentioned earlier on the previous study will still be engaged. So we actually expanded the list of who we asked this company that's doing the comprehensive plan to talk to. So there's more sectors of business and quality of life and things that they'll be talking to bring together a bigger overall plan. So I'm really excited to get this new plan out.
Certainly excited to see all those developments. Speaking of developments,
yes,
let's give a little update on our retail development. And this is what I thought of over the Christmas holiday and the shopping season. And I remarked to several people that, this time next year,
yes,
there's a strong possibility, a very strong possibility, that we will have some brand new opportunities in our area, that we will not have to travel to Charleston, Ashland, Lexington,
Amen.
Johnson City. We will have those type stores right here, hopefully.
Well, and we will. This thing is starting to finally take legs. When I say take legs, is obviously it's been a 2-year project for me in putting this whole thing together, and it's it's not as simple, Jill, just being candid, of driving by and seeing somebody out there laying bricks and mortar.
Right.
There's a lot of work behind the scenes and developing the road, clearing the tree lines, getting the infrastructure in place, and then actually finding a developer, putting the study together. So we got through all that. We now have, as I've mentioned in previous shows, a contract with the developer. We now have an agreement with the U.S. Post Office. We are in about halfway through the due diligence process with the Post Office. And let me make this very clear, too, for those that are watching, because I think this is a message that we really need to get out to the public, is that this development isn't just about bringing the national names in. We are also working with local companies. There is some local companies that will be that will want to move into this development because of the additional traffic flow that it will create. So there's about 22, 23 different outlets, partials, stores that will be part of this development. I would say about half of them will probably be new, or probably more than that, but new brand names coming into the market. And then some of them will be, the smaller stores will be some of the local stores that are here. Now, with that said, it is, again, by far the #1 project that when I'm out on the street, people are stopping and still asking me about, wondering why we haven't started and what's going forward. The one thing I do want to mention to the public is please understand that the City of Pikeville is not the developer on this project.
Right.
I get numerous calls asking why can't I negotiate a price with them and can I make them room into this, and that's not our role. The city's role is to provide the infrastructure, which, again, the roads, we own the property, was to put together the deal. A lot of other components that had to go in as part of that, and then our as a government entity, we can deal with the post office a little easier than what a private entity can. So we were able to orchestrate all that and then put some covenants in our agreement to ensure that we get a quality facility. Now, luckily, through a contact in the retail world that I knew, brought this developer to our doorstep, and Neil Wilson, who was on our program, is now on scene and has this agreement. Now, where we're at today, which is the big question, is that the developer is working directly with the post office to create the lease agreement. That's the biggie, is because what the post office will be doing is we'll move it out of one building into another building, but there has to be a lease on the new building that both the developer and the post office has to agree to, and that's going to happen. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, and hopefully it'll be over the next couple of weeks. They have now turned it over to the planning department. Realty Link has a full department. I mean, they have everything from engineers to architects to I mean, this is a major developer, legal team, and on and on. So it's now in their planning department. They're actually physically drawing the blueprints of this facility. I worked with them this past week on code enforcement and giving them some local code information, and so they're spending probably in a neighborhood of about $300,000 just developing the different designs that will go there. The developer has over half of the development inked, meaning that he has a lot of, he's got the majority of it full with names that he's talking to, but he's got contracts, people in ink of either letter of intents or actual lease contracts signed by over half of it, and a lot of those are the national brands that we're talking about. Unfortunately, the confidentiality thing still sticks, but I do know a couple of brands that I'm really happy with. One of them, he mentioned, I think on his last show, that I think they finally have signed, is I won't give the name away, but I can say, I asked him if I could say this, but is a large craft store.
Large craft store.
That a lot of people would have to leave this area to go to. So they have actually signed.
Which means they're coming.
They're coming. As long as the deal is completed with the post office. Now, the only hang-up, I don't want to be misleading, is the only hang-up is you still have to get through the acquisition of the property with the post office. And that's the only thing pending. We've negotiated our deal. We're moving forward on our deal, and that's all done. And the post office is there also. We have an agreement with them. So what he's doing now is they hope, and speaking with him this week, they hope to have the lease agreement with the post office done probably within the next 4 weeks. They're hoping that the sale of the properties, when the post office conveys the property to us and us to them, the developer, that will take place sometime probably in April. And then probably the actual construction will take place late April, probably early May. At the latest, he said, would be June. And then thereafter, it's an 8-month project. So within 8 months thereafter, you'll see some stores open up before the 8 months.
Right.
But within 8 months, it should be a turnkey job to where everything is done. The only thing that may not be done is where the existing post office sits. And the reason for that is he has to build a new one first.
Build a new one just close, adjacent to that property.
And then they would move over, and then they would come in. But he still feels like that he could probably still meet that time frame. So I'm really excited again. And all those national names that we're so fond of, and everything from shoe stores to clothing stores,
cosmetic stores,
cosmetics, cell phone stores. I mean, a lot of
a little bit of this, and a little bit of that,
little bit of everything. And he's got a. I'm trying to think of the name of it. Bottery, Chinese.
Japanese.
Japanese.
Hibachi.
Hibachi. Thank you. I'm sitting here, hibachi. What's a hibachi?
You lost me on that one. Yeah, hibachi. He did mention that when he was here.
They have signed.
Yeah, a smaller type place that will be within that area, and it's not to say that there won't be other eatery type places that will be in the mix eventually, maybe.
There is at least 2 that I know of, and he's working on a possible 3rd standalone restaurant.
Yes.
But there is a lot to this, and it's coming.
It is coming. The one thing that we get so excited about the new development and the new brands and businesses coming in, but the one thing that is, I think, so phenomenal about it is the amount of jobs that it's going to create for our area. That you have so many layoffs with our coal companies and situations being what the industry is right now, but there are going to be new job opportunities, and I'm not talking about just minimum wage jobs. I'm talking about management type positions, leader type positions that these facilities and these stores will give opportunity for.
Well, again, we've talked about this in the past too, Jill, but I grew up in the retail field, and I can tell you those jobs can be very lucrative. I was a store manager and I was a district manager for Lowe's Home Center, and we're talking, 6-figure salaries with some of these, with bonus opportunities, and but in some of the smaller stores is still a good salary. But in each store has usually a manager, assistant managers, receiving clerks, security managers. There's a lot of different components in management, especially in a bigger box. So those are good jobs. Again, he's forecasting around 400 to 600 jobs, some part-time, some full-time. But on top of that, what it represents is not only the quality of life, but it's also a magnet. It's a pooling of other, instead of like we do, is when we go to Huntington or Charleston or Lexington or Kingsport, those outer markets will have the opportunity coming to the Pikevilles to have food, to have entertainment and eat and all those other things too. So that business creates business. And that's been the vision, which is when we talk about all this other development, that's what's happened over the past couple of years. His business is creating business.
Great opportunities. Let's talk a little bit about the Scholar House. Now, ground has been broken. There is movement of dirt all day long, seems like over there. Every day that I drive past, there's more and more activity, I think, there. Update us on that situation.
Well, they are, and Miriam Development, a gentleman by the name of Jake Brown, he is the developer building this project. It has broke ground. Again, there are 48 units that will be built for single parents that want to attend the university to have a certain grade point average. That project is under construction. The blueprint which we put up on the rendition of it earlier on an earlier show was absolutely phenomenal. It's going to change the scope of that area there. But it's also going to serve both the university and the technical college. So it's a great project. And then once the project is completed, there's a local board that has been put together that will actually oversee and manage the project. The county judge and the mayor made those appointments. The judge is on the board, Judge Rutherford. I'm on that board. We've got some other appointments that are on the board, but it's a lot, everything from housing to the YMCA to all around. I'll leave somebody out if I keep naming, but a lot of great people that are on this board. Again, a great project that's going to serve the community and serve the universities and offer something that's desperately needed.
Certainly so. Driving down the street the other day, I was able to look at our judicial center that is nearly completed. And I will say this, traveling around to the different communities like I do, and I know you do the same thing, we are going to have one of the most beautiful courthouses.
There is no doubt about it.
Bar
none. No doubt about it. And the architect firm, Sherman Bernhardt and Carter, did a wonderful job. Steve Sherman has been phenomenal, and Codell Construction, which oversaw the project. I was blessed to serve on this board, and great board members. I'm telling you, this board is the composite of it is a lot of great minds, and really who serves this community. Judge Rutherford chairs that board, but there's been a lot of thought and a lot of work into this thing, and it's projected to be completed by March.
This March.
Yes. And if you look at it, it's not far off. I mean, there's still some tweaking that they're doing. But hopefully they'll go in and make sure everything flushes and works before they move everything in. But by middle of this year, the facility will be fully up and operational. But I told my wife the other day, I said, downtown looks kind of like and I don't mean any disrespect with this, but like a prison because we've got so many fences up. I'm looking forward to all those fences coming down.
I know. But those fences are sometimes a really good thing to have because that's meaning things are happening.
And there is a lot of things, and it's going to totally change the landscape of the downtown and have a building that will serve our community for 100 years.
Yeah, another fence that's up is in the parking lot just beside of where we're actually taping today here at Pike TV, and that is going to be part of our new Pikeville Theater, part of Jenny Wiley. I just cannot wait for that to take shape.
Me too, and of course, I chair that committee, and
you're on every committee there is.
I love these committees.
You do.
Well, the city obviously and the county both wants a voice to make sure we're representing the people of both of our entities who we represent, but. That board is really great because I get some neat people to work with on that board, the Jenny Wiley Theater Committee, with Tom and Bill and Marty and then myself and Commissioner Carter and Cheney. But we actually today's Thursday, no, tomorrow Friday, the bid specs hits the street, meaning that the building itself will be out for bid. It will be several weeks, 3 weeks, I think, for the bidding process for everybody to get their bids in. And then I think it's the 26th of February is when we'll award the bid. And then they'll start actually mobilization and starting construction by the 1st of March, the first week of March. And then again, the building will be completed by December of 2013, still under the same construction schedule. So you're going to see some walls starting to go up. We elected to not necessarily hold off the bidding process, but due to the cold weather, we wanted to get the best price, and we wanted to come into our spring building season. So that's why we're waiting until the 1st of March. But it's here. We're underway.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier, the Hilton Garden Inn taking shape of the rendition that I saw, which I never, and I'll tell you this again, I first said this, I don't know how you're going to put that building there. I really don't. I told that to the developer. I said, I cannot wait to see how you actually do this, but now I see it. And it's he's right. August is coming, isn't it?
It's August will be here, and it's a magnificent facility. If you have, now you can kind of see what the outline and the way it looks. There's going to be a restaurant on the bottom, a big 5,000 square foot open area outside
I think
on the
it's
top.
going to be fantastic.
And again, you know, Mr. Bailey, who owns and he has a group out of Lexington that operates this facility. It's going to be a magnificent addition to the downtown area. It'll help serve the Expo Center because it allows us to bring in small conferences. But again, just a magnificent facility. But to your point, it's on schedule, and they're looking at hopefully completion by July, opening sometime in August.
I'm just going to throw some places out to you. You quickly update us, okay, because we're
gonna
beginning to
close
run
out
down time. PMC in the library.
The library's under construction, obviously, for folks, because I've got a lot of calls, and though it's not a city project, it's a county project, the library board manages it. People are calling, wanting to know what the project is, going over by the Burger King by Lowe's, and that is the new library. It's going to be a magnificent facility. They've got a lot of different departments that'll be part of the library or part of it, so I look for that to come online this year as well. It's going to be, again, another apple of the community.
Horse Trail.
Horse Trail, we just started actually the preliminary construction. We hope to have it completed within the next, I think our time frame is in the next 4 months. So this, before right as summer is starting, the trail will be open, the barn will be built. And of course that's up at Bob Amos Park. So it's, again, another great venue, or great venue to add to the many other venues up at Bob Amos Park and added quality of life.
Certainly. City Hall and Lightyear.
Oh, that's a big discussion we'll get more into, but of course
we can do a whole show on that.
We can do. This is a great opportunity for the university. There's a lot of partners here. We've got the university, the Chamber of Commerce, the city of Pikeville, and the county was involved in it as well. But Lightyear, I just want to make known they are not leaving the market. They are still staying in the market. They're going to be relocating. They were only using part of the facility, but the city was growing and we needed room to grow into, and so was the university. The university ran out of room, and they're getting ready to. And I don't want to give their great release out, though it's going to be public at this coming commission meeting. But what they basically are doing is starting the university business college. So they're expanding the business program and their nursing program as well to try to cater towards the medical center, Pikeville Medical Center. So because of their new building, they were past their bonding capacity, but with the academy building, which was originally a college, it allowed us to work back in some additional programs that we'll be announcing soon. Again, I don't want to take their fire away from them, right, because they've got some neat things that we're working with them on, one being a community outreach program catering to the unemployed minors and those in low income, offering some free training such as computer skills and some other resources at no cost. So it's going to be some neat things that they're going to be announcing in the very near future.
Last phrase I'm going to give you quickly: commercial air service.
We're still working on it. It's a lot to this, but it's coming along very well. We've made some great strides, and you should hear some things probably within the next 30 to 60 days.
I said that was the last thing, but I do want to ask you about the city and county working on a new Hatfield-McCoy project.
We are working on some things that hopefully the city and the county will be announcing in the very near future. Some things that really people are going to be excited about, focusing on the Hatfield-McCoy story. So next show, I promise you I'll have more information on it.
Excellent. Now, I mentioned at the top of our show that we are going to we're going to take a break and come back, and Eddie Greenhill and Dave are going to join me to talk about a great initiative, a fire safety prevention campaign, where they're going to give out smoke detectors, making our community as safe as it can possibly be. So we'll take a break. I want to talk to them, and then we'll visit on the other end, okay?
Well, I'm going to step aside and let you talk to them, and I'll come back.
All right, we'll do that. Sure. We'll be right back. Stay right there.
Pikeville and Pike County Tourism invite you to scenic Pike County, where history lives. Enjoy a tour of the famous Hatfield and McCoy feud sites in downtown Pikeville. Treat yourself to an adventure on the Hatfield and McCoy River Trails, a Kentucky Blue Water Trail. Affordable rentals of kayaks, canoes, and tubes are available. Have your own kayak? We'll pick you up and drop you off for your trip down the river. Pikeville offers comfortable accommodations, exciting attractions, and great restaurants. Make Pikeville your home away from home. Visit and enjoy wonderful attractions like the Breaks Interstate Resort Park, Jenny Wiley State Park, the Hatfield-McCoy ATV trails, and so much more, all within 30 minutes of downtown Pikeville. So what are you waiting for? Visit our website today at www.visitpikeville.com or tourpikecounty.com. Discover Pike County.
And welcome back in for the second half of the City Manager's Report. I'm your host once again, Jill Fraley. Donovan will rejoin us shortly, but right now we have two special guests that are going to join us to talk about a wonderful initiative going on in the Pike County and Pikeville area that has stemmed from what is probably one of the worst tragedies we've seen, but we're hoping that those tragedies will not happen again with the help of this initiative. Joining me is Eddie Greenhill and Dave Broderick. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. We are going to talk about something that came about after a result of a horrible tragedy that happened in our communities a few weeks ago, where a family, a father and his children lost their lives because of a fire in their home. First, Eddie, before we get into that, tell us exactly what you do.
Like I say, my name is Eddie Greenhill. I'm the captain with the Pikeville Fire Department. My job duties include fire prevention, public education, and fire inspection of buildings throughout the city.
Now, Dave Broderick, you have a somewhat of a similar role, but still different.
I'm Deputy Dave Broderick. I'm the Deputy State Fire Marshal for the Commonwealth of Kentucky. I cover 4 counties in eastern Kentucky: Pike, Letcher, Harlan, and Knott County. I do fire prevention, fire inspections for the State Fire Marshal's office. Of course, I do fire origin and cause determinations for the State Fire Marshal. That's part of our statute requirements through state law to investigate for the cause and origins of fires and to provide recommendations to prevent fires. I've been in doing this. I was a former city firefighter here at Pikeville for over 20 years. I've been State Fire Marshal's office for 5 years. So the biggest thing we are looking for is, as fire marshals, we're trying to prevent fires. We don't want to investigate fires, but fires do happen, and part of this initiative was a result of that fire. We've gone through numerous different fire departments, county fire departments, firefighters associations do a lot of distribution of smoke detectors. But this latest tragedy really brought into focus. It's been several years since the Pike County has done a giveaway.
So let's go back to that tragedy. Has it been 3 weeks at this point?
Right around 3 weeks.
Right
yes.
around 3 weeks. One of the most terrible tragedies that I've seen in our area in a very, very long time. You had a family that was in a home, and the mother survived, but it was 4 children?
4 children and
4 children and the father perished in the fire. And the way that this got started was because their home did not have a smoke detector in it. And quite possibly, if they'd had a smoke detector, the tragedy would not have happened, right?
Correct. They had a fire, but the chance of them escaping from that fire with that detector would have been greatly increased.
We are going to talk a little bit later about some space heaters and those types of things, especially with the bitterly cold temperatures that we're having. A lot of people try to supplement a little bit more heat in their homes. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that coming up shortly. But because of that tragedy, as you said, there's now a program where the city and county are getting together and they're going to give out smoke detectors for people who do not have them in their homes. Not only are they going to give them to them, but they're also going to install them. Eddie, talk a little bit about that.
By the State Fire Marshal's office, they received a grant, and they are purchasing smoke detectors, and they will be distributed throughout Pike County. And for that, we definitely want to thank the State Fire Marshal's office for doing that. The way they're going to be distributed is through the Pike County Firefighters Association. You can, if you don't have a smoke detector, you can call your local fire department, whichever district that you fall in.
Now, does that fall under the same category as a volunteer fire department as well?
Yes. Okay. Yes, they're local volunteer fire departments. And they're a part of the Pike County Firefighters Association, so they'll be compiling a list of people who do not have smoke detectors, and then they will be distributed to the fire departments so they can go out and hang them up in their homes.
And you're going to also install those, which, you know, it's not only, it's a win-win for everybody, because a lot of people say, well, I can go get a smoke detector, and then don't take the, 5-10 minutes that it takes to actually just bolt it to the ceiling or stick it on there, however it needs to be.
2 screws is usually all it takes just to zap it in the wall, and it's there.
Dave, is this something that you normally find that even in this day and age that a lot of families don't have smoke detectors in their homes?
A lot of families don't have smoke detectors in their homes. The State Fire Marshal, we regulate apartment buildings, large assemblies, hotel motels, state licensed facilities, large assemblies. We require smoke detection. Depending upon the size of the building, we require sprinklers. Those must be inspected annually, quarterly, depending upon the occupancy type. But we don't regulate people's homes. We strongly suggest folks put smoke detectors in their homes, check them at least twice a year, change the batteries out once or twice a year, but make sure they're functional. Sometimes people fall through the gaps. Folks do not know, cannot afford one, or couldn't hang one or not physically able to. We have a lot of folks that are elderly.
Right.
Who need a smoke detector. This is a part of this program. We want to, but everyone who cannot maybe hang a smoke detector, we have fire departments, firefighters who will go ahead and do that for them. It's a great initiative. It's been several years since we've done an initiative like this, and that's what we were going to do, is to give those folks a chance to have a smoke detector. We don't like working fires when people pass on.
Yeah.
It was very tragic for the Shelby Valley firemen who attended that, who were first on scene at that fire, knowing that they couldn't, what their efforts, they could not save those folks in that building. This initiative also came as part of a community de-stressing and way we try to reach out to the community to increase fire safety and awareness. So if folks think of that fire, go out and push your smoke detector button. Make sure you have a smoke detector. Just a memory of those folks who died in that fire.
You know, and it is so tragic when you think about, and I've said before, we're just on the wake of the shooting in Connecticut, and then you think about this fire happening so close to our homes. There just seems like there's so many children dying, families that are being affected by these horrible tragedies, and this is one thing you can do to hopefully prevent something like this from happening in your home. There are all sorts of measures that you can take. I know education, Eddie, is something that we've talked about before.
Right.
Educating your children about how to get out of a home if it is on fire, if you suspect something or you smell something that's a little bit suspicious. Do you think there needs to be more education programs implemented within our schools and communities to get the word out just a little bit more?
Yeah, and we, as a city fire department, we've had an ongoing fire prevention education program for quite a while. We see anywhere from 800 to 1,000 kids a year. We think that is one of the beneficial ways of getting into the home, where we can't go and inspect homes or anything like that, but we can educate the children to recognize this and maybe go home and teach their parents a little bit about fire safety, to have them, urge them to go on and do an evacuation plan and to map it out. That way they know in the event of a fire that I'm to get out this way, I'm to take this way out, and I'm supposed to meet at this point. That's one of the most effective ways that we have found to do this, and is to educate the children. We see anywhere from pre-K to kindergarten to first grade, and this is something that it's kind of on the drawing board right now, that we're going to have a meeting with a lot of the county fire departments next Thursday night at 7 to try to organize a program, a Pike County Fire Prevention Association program, to where we can hit every school every year and continue this, so that they not only so the ones that are started in pre-K, they can move, they'll get 3 years of fire education through this, and it sticks with them the rest of their lives.
Well, I certainly agree with what you said. The best way sometimes to educate the adults is to educate their children, because as adults, we think that we've known our entire lives how to, get out of a burning house, or if we suspect something suspicious, to kind of investigate. But in all honesty, we do tend to forget, and you always think, in the back of your mind, it's never going to happen to me or to my family. So if you get in the minds of the children and make them take ownership of safety in their families, I think that's the best way to get everyone educated. Now, I know we're talking about smoke detectors and having them placed in your home, but Dave, what are some other things that families might be able to do to fireproof their homes, or to have escape routes, evacuation plans, things of that nature?
Escape routes, evacuation plans. What if this happens? You need to basically be certain you have a good evacuation plan with a primary and secondary way out of your home. You want to have an assembly point. You want to be able to, children be able to call 911 and accurately tell the dispatcher where they are and what the nature of the emergency is. You need to look at, and particularly need to watch out what you do with electrical extension cords. Don't overload circuits. Don't overload your computer circuits, in that you don't put more than one power strip, what we call piggybacking power strips.
Let me stop you right there and ask you about overloading outlets, because I probably myself, and I'm sure other people who are watching today, are guilty of that, because you think, well, if I have an extension cord, or if I have a splitter that I have into my outlet, then I can stick as many things on there as possible. But that's not true, is it?
No.
I mean, I'm thinking right now of places in my home that I probably need to go check to make sure that it's not overloaded. How do you evaluate overloading an outlet?
General rule of thumb, most outlets will run between 15 and 20 amps. You need to look at the wattage ratings on your particular appliances. We recommend
even
just
thought about doing
2
that.
per plug. We just recommend 2 appliances per plug.
So you don't recommend the splitters?
I'm not a fan of splitters. I've seen several fires involved in splitters. Electrical fires happen all the time.
Right.
But you want to reduce that risk. You want to use the right type of cord for the device you're going to power. Little brown extension cords are not the things you hook up to an electric space heater or a high amperage appliance like your refrigerator
Right.
or an air conditioner.
What about, like, I think about all the electronics that our kids have these days and adults too. You know, you have iPhones, iPads, computers, printers, cameras. I mean, I can just go on and on and on. And if you have an extension cord plugged into a regular outlet on the wall that has probably 3 or 4 prongs, is that safe? I mean, I remember daily that my charger will get warm. Is that probably not a good place to have that charged up or hooked up?
Probably. Well, where it's building up its heat from is the amount of electricity that it's pulling through it.
Okay.
Just take, for instance, if you plug a multi-outlet device into your regular plug, that's taking a 2-plug outlet in the wall, and now you've expanded it to 6 plugs.
We're talking about the power strips.
Power strips,
Okay.
right. So you plug 6 different things into an outlet that's only designed for 2 plugs. So you're drawing a lot more electricity through there, which creates more heat in the wires, which creates breakdown of the outer coating because of the heat.
Right.
And then eventually, over time, breakdown of the coating, it gets into the wood or something else, heats it up to the point of ignition, and that's where you have your fires.
And you think these things aren't going to happen to you, but
Right.
just like me sitting here maybe being a little bit ignorant about how many things I can put into an outlet, these are things that people don't think about.
No, and they don't.
Do you recommend, as far as the escape route, evacuation plan, things of that nature, you see advertisements for the staircases on a rope, basically, that you will attach to an upstairs, basically. Are those safe items to
Yes.
use?
Yes, they are
Safe
safe
and,
items.
and be sure that you practice deploying them and using them.
That would be the thing I would think would be most frightening. I mean, obviously, if you're in a fire situation, you're going to do whatever you can, but those could be a little bit tricky, I imagine.
Yes.
Well, you don't want to wait until the event of a fire to practice to throw this thing out the window.
Preparation is key, right?
Exactly right. Exactly right.
So let's talk about how, I know that they can contact, you said, their local volunteer fire department to get the smoke detectors. And after that, how many are we talking? Is there a limit that you have as far as the smoke detectors go? That
We
can
have
be
250 right now.
Okay.
I'm not sure whether they plan on buying more to meet that need, but I'm sure there's some way that we can fulfill that need if we get the word out there. I think there'll be some individuals.
I can tell you today that once that 250 runs out, there's been a commitment from East Kentucky Broadcasting to pick up the rest of the smoke detectors, ever how many there are. So if the 250's out and you can't get more, we're going to pick up the cost of that and to make sure those items are purchased, because we want everybody to have a smoke detector, a smoke alarm in their home, because I can remember the morning that the call came in about the fire, and you know, we hear things all the time, the tragic part of news and this and that and the other, and sometimes you just kind of become desensitized to it because you hear so much about it.
Right.
But then in a morning when you hear that 4 children and their father have died and that their mother is in critical condition with horrible burns, and it's right here. It's not, in Texas or in Florida or in New York where you hear about all these things happening. It's right here in our backyard. So we want to do everything we can to help prevent that. Dave, now you mentioned to me before we came on air about a website that people can go to if they have some more questions, maybe something that we didn't cover or maybe a question that might have sparked while they were listening. What website is that?
You can basically go onto the state website and look at the Office of Housing, Building, Construction, and we have a pull-down window for the Kentucky State Fire Marshal's office. And we have different links in our website for different questions that you may have involving fire prevention. That's what we do. That's what our whole mission is.
Saving lives.
Saving lives.
Absolutely.
And preventing property loss if possible.
Absolutely. Now, we mentioned earlier space heaters. We have had bitterly cold temperatures the past few mornings. We're expecting snow this weekend. We're taping on a Wednesday or Thursday here. What are some of the things that we need to know as homeowners who obviously have heat within our homes, but sometimes it does get a little bit more chilly and you can't heat every room to the right temperature, and we get space heaters.
Right.
You know, it's very common. You see them lined up at your, you know, your local department stores, all different kinds. Is there a particular kind of space heater that's better than the other?
No, because they're in America. They all have to meet the same requirements. Just like a fuel-fired space heater, it needs to have ventilation.
We're talking about kerosene heaters?
Yes.
Okay.
They need some sort of fresh air ventilation so that CO doesn't build up within the structure that they're being operated in. Also, another thing to remember is keep a clear area around them, at least 4 to 5 feet. Keep any and all combustibles away from them.
What about, I know in my bathroom, I have a very small, very, very small space heater that just one of those little ceramic deals. I mean, it wasn't a lot of money, but I know that like in bathrooms or in bedrooms where people get ready, use a lot of hair products, powders, things of that nature, and they get a lot of buildup in the back. Is that something we need to be mindful of to make sure those are cleaned out? I imagine that could be, I clean mine out regularly because I see it.
Yes.
But that's something easy to forget, right, Dave?
It's definitely easily to forget. You need to maintain your heater. When you plug a space heater in, you plug it directly into the wall. Don't run an extension cord off of it. Make sure you keep that 3-foot radius. It must be there. There's too many fires being started from combustibles falling onto the heater and in turn igniting the fire. You have a lot of, we see a lot of that in all the space heaters a lot. That's the big thing you got to be careful of. Of course, check your smoke detector before you plug any of those kind of appliances in. But be extremely careful of that. Be careful of the surface you set it on. Put it on a non-combustible surface if possible.
Talk a little bit about what combustible surfaces are and combustible goods. I mean, we're talking about curtains, blankets, stuffed animals. What are some surfaces?
Clothing. Rugs.
Don't sit on the floor like on I know a lot of people have those shag type rugs.
Right.
I imagine that would be a bad place to
No,
put
it'd be
it.
not a good place. Not a good place to put one.
Right.
You should put sit on top of some type of a metal or non-combustible surface.
So no wood.
No wood.
Okay, like a metal sheeting or whatever.
Yes.
And you know, I mentioned the rug. That's like a throw rug, but a lot of carpets these days, people have carpet in their home, are of a shag type material. So you really need to put something under it, like you said, piece of metal. What about hardwood floors? I mean, do we need to put something under those, or is that something that you can just put them on?
I would. Yeah,
I
I would
to
definitely.
protect just nothing else to protect the floor, in that the heat buildup may distort the color of the floor,
Right.
or do something to the finish on the floor. To be certain that you put something there that won't, as a non-combustible, a piece of metal, tile, something there.
Like a hard surface.
Like a hard surface.
Okay. Okay. Something hard. Well, I mean, and you know, normally we have a lot of those things around our home that we might not think would be good candidates to be the base of those heaters, but certainly we could, if we can't find it around the house, we could find it somewhere else.
Sure. Yeah.
Now, let's tell everybody one more time what we're doing. We are giving out smoke detectors to people in our community, basically who do not have smoke detectors in their homes. All they have to do is call the city police department, the state, you, Dave.
Yeah. They would need to make contact with their local fire department.
For the local.
Our initiative, we're just making the contact to supply these.
Okay.
And this came by as a result of the fire marshal calling myself and say, what can we do to help you out? And I said, well, some counselors to come down and help these folks who are having a hard time with this incident, and how about some smoke detectors to put in some few homes that don't have them.
Well, gentlemen, I think it's a wonderful initiative, and I applaud your efforts for making sure that our communities continue to stay safe. It's nice to know we have people like you looking out for our families and our homes when there could be a tragedy happen. But we're hoping, like you said, saving lives, no property loss, and most importantly, educating people about putting smoke detectors in their home, making sure the batteries are changed. Just hit the button, it will go off and let you know.
That's another thing I was going to throw in. It's everyone, even if you do have a smoke detector in your home, you see it on the wall every day, but you don't think about it. At least once a month, they should be going over and pushing the button to make sure that it is functional. It does give an audible sound, and at least once a year, change that battery out.
I think a rule of thumb is when we have daylight savings time, beginning and end. You know, that's every 6 months or so. That's a good time to change it. I would think. At least
or
it
you
reminds
can use your
me.
birthday or your children's birthday.
or January 1st?
Or January 1st.
You know, if you're going to install it that day, I think that would be a great opportunity to make a New Year's resolution to keep your home as safe as possible.
Early detection is the key.
Absolutely. Guys, thanks so much for being with us today. We appreciate you stopping by and educating everybody. And again, once those run out, we'll take care of the rest, okay?
Okay. Thank you. Sounds good.
We will be back with more in just a minute. Donovan will rejoin us. Stay right there.
Pikeville and Pike County Tourism invite you to scenic Pike County, where history lives. Enjoy a tour of the famous Hatfield and McCoy feud sites in downtown Pikeville. Treat yourself to an adventure on the Hatfield and McCoy River Trails, a Kentucky Blue Water Trail. Affordable rentals of kayaks, canoes, and tubes are available. Have your own kayak? We'll pick you up and drop you off for your trip down the river. Pikeville offers comfortable accommodations, exciting attractions, and great restaurants. Make Pikeville your home away from home. Visit and enjoy wonderful attractions like the Breaks Interstate Resort Park, Jenny Wiley State Park, the Hatfield-McCoy ATV trails, and so much more, all within 30 minutes of downtown Pikeville. So what are you waiting for? Visit our website today at www.visitpikeville.com or tourpikecounty.com. Discover Pike County.
Welcome back in. I've been rejoined by City Manager of Pikeville, Donovan Blackburn. Donovan, what a great time for us to be talking about fire safety and prevention, you know, with Eddie and Dave both here. Educated me, and I know that you were kind of sitting off the set just a little bit listening. And what I said to him was, even when we finished, was we all become very ignorant in our adult lives sometimes, and I said it to them, we don't think that things are going to happen to us, but what a wonderful opportunity to get our firefighters out more in the community, to make them more visible, very approachable, because sometimes people don't want to ask a lot of questions because they do feel silly. But, you know, when it comes to this is something that we really, really need to be mindful of.
Well, you're absolutely right, Jill. You know, and it's really a shame sometimes that it takes a tragedy to get us to look at things in a little different light. And, you know, this is a case, but we are very fortunate to have great men and women out there that put their lives on the line on a daily basis on our behalf, and not only from the standpoint of protection, but also education. And when you look at what Dave has done and then what Eddie has done, Randy Courtney.
Oh, goodness.
I mean, and all these multiple departments, because, you know, when they called this press conference this past week, to see every department represented by people that are passionate about serving their community, but also, you know, to your point, educating those things that maybe we don't know, or those things that we just forget about. You know, it's so easy. A smoke detector, I said this the other day over there. You know, we really got into the habit with the new lithium batteries, you know, these detectors last much longer. But, you know, I've still got old school where you've got a smoke detector and we change our batteries when the time changes. And I've got my two boys who have their own houses now, and I call them up and they get frustrated a little bit. But it's because of those little inconveniences sometimes that cause those type of tragedies. But we're very blessed to have such a great departments throughout the entire community, because these are, you know, are volunteer people. These are volunteer departments.
Yeah, they all have different jobs too, and day jobs that they, you know, that they go to and work at, but they give up their time and energy after hours, so to speak. But I think you said it best, you know, and Eddie's alluded to it too. Prevention is key.
That's it.
You know, just
Absolutely.
like you said, your boys get a little bit frustrated because you know, Dad's still telling them that they need to check their batteries, but really, it's sad that sometimes it does take a tragedy to get us to be a little bit more proactive. So prevention is key, and like I said earlier, I just thank them for what they do, and they all do such a wonderful job, and what a great initiative.
It really is, and a great collaboration of bringing the state and local government along with all these agencies under one roof to really work towards a great cause, and also the sponsorship with the fire detector company, Kitty. You know, it's again their initiatives, and also the with what East Kentucky Broadcasting was willing to do at the end of the day to step up as well.
Well, our pleasure, and we certainly we don't want to get any more of those calls in the mornings like that.
No, absolutely
that these children have died and their fathers just, I can remember that morning, and it was so tragic, and just for us to hear it that way. But then I can't imagine what the volunteer firefighters, like Dave said and like Eddie alluded to, went through when they got there, knowing that there was really nothing that they could do. With all of their training, they're still humans, and sometimes there's just nothing that you can do. So So this is going to be one way for us to save lives, educate people,
Yes.
and make our homes in our area just as safe as we possibly can.
Absolutely, absolutely.
One thing we have coming up as we begin to wrap up the show is the Kids Expo coming up at the East Kentucky Expo Center. We talked about children with the smoke detector situation, but this is going to be a great event for families to bring their kids out, and I think the adults are going to be able to have some fun too. It is February 1st and 2nd,
Right.
Friday and all day Saturday. It's Friday night from 5 to 9, 9 to 9 on Saturday. And what I keep trying to explain to people what it is, but basically it is an indoor fun fest carnival. There's going to be a zip line. Now, have you ever thought about that? Across the expo floor?
Well, I have. I had the great privilege that when we went on our 25th anniversary this past to go ziplining. And so when Steve told me there was going to be a zip line there, I was really excited
Yeah.
because if you haven't done it, it's a great experience.
It is. I plan to do that this spring. So there's going to be a zip line. There's going to be a hamster ball, which I think
Those
is
are unique.
hysterical. I don't know that I could do in that because of the rotation. I think I probably would get a little bit dizzy, a little bit nauseated.
Well, when you're in there, you need to call me because I'm coming over with the camera.
I'm sure you would. I've done some stuff
Yes,
to
you have.
before.
It's payback or purgatory
yeah, I don't know
sometimes.
that you'll be getting a call for that one. Fun inflatables. There's going to be the rock wall. The whole expo center floor is going to be filled with
Yes.
kid-friendly, safe activities for them. I think it's $10 for a wristband for the entire time to get in. And I think probably that with our cold weather that we've been having, a lot of people have a little bit of cabin fever and want to get out. But, brought to you by Appalachian Wireless, East Kentucky Broadcasting, the city is getting involved.
Yes.
And I just think one more wonderful opportunity for people in our community and the surrounding counties to come to our area and take advantage of the fantastic facility that is the Expo Center.
Well, it's a great time, as you said, to let the kids get out and get some of this pent-up energy that they have from being indoors and let it get out. But as you know, our community is all about the kids and all these great corporate partners that have come in once again with East Kentucky Broadcasting and Appalachian Wireless, as always, to host such a wonderful event and such a wonderful facility. So we want everybody to come out and have a good time.
We do. And like I said, it's for kid-based, if you will, but I think the adults will have an opportunity. We have a lot of vendors that are coming in. Mom and dad will have a chance to let their kids run around and play because it is kid-friendly and completely safe, just like the safe trick-or-treat that we do
Amen.
at Halloween. But you can actually go shopping a little bit around the concourse, see some things that you may not have been able to get out and see, maybe if you've not been shopping or out into the community since Christmas. Plus, we're going to have a lot of vendors there, like Eddie and Dave,
Right.
about educating our families about police issues, protecting your children from predators and things of that nature, fire safety. A lot of different people are going to be there to educate us and to have a little bit of fun too. So I think it's going to be a great event.
Well, I'm extremely excited, and when they need somebody to test the zip line, I'm first in line.
I'll remember that. I remember that. Well, we are going to call it a day. So nice to be back with you. I mean, it's been a while since we've been here. So nice to get back into the swing of things. And I think it's been a really informative show today. And certainly want to thank Dave Broderick and Eddie Greenhill for being with us today because they have provided great information. And, of course, we have an open invitation for them to come back whenever they would like.
Well, I'm sure they will real soon, and same here. I've missed this time, and I'm looking forward to the new year to come.
We have lots to come this year.
A lot.
Lots of exciting
A lot.
things are going to happen. So we look forward to our weekly chats. Donovan, thank you.
Thank you.
This has been the City Manager's Report. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you very soon.